And we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my co-host, or I am your co-host, Blake Ruffino. I always say that like we're not co-hosts, like equal
right.
part. You know, I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my counterpart, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir.
So I wanted to ask you this: are you going to be partaking in Mad Dog Saturdays the rest of the season?
I'm mad dogging right now.
I gotta say, I tweeted this
Let me
out.
tell you something. You think everybody thinks I'm joking? I'm not joking.
We need to get like a CBD sponsor on the show. Might have some news for a new sponsor, by the way, coming soon. I have to say that Mad Dog clip is
so good.
Well, because it's even funnier because it's not like it's a Barstool guy, like some 25-year. It's not like something like me. Like if I said that,
it's like your dad going on there and saying that,
right? And for him to talk about him eating half an edible, pouring an early cocktail, sitting on the couch, that sounds like an awesome day, man. That's all I can say.
I'm just gonna say this, and I am not saying I do this, federal government, but I do not mind grass.
Okay, that's one way
of
phrasing it.
You know, there's this new brand out there called the Ninja Turtles. You can get it in red, blue, orange, or purple. I mean, the Ninja Turtle. Okay? Don't ask me how I know. This is legal in a lot of states. But you know what, man? It really does. So, in all seriousness, man, my listeners on AYS know this. I get migraines very bad. There's not a cure for what I need to get. Like, I had to get Botox one time on the back of my neck. Like, it got serious when I was on the way to the plane when we were going to play Mississippi State. I got in a very bad car accident, and my car flipped, and I was hanging on a seatbelt upside down.
Oh my God.
And so the back of my neck is like really messed up. So after that, I really started getting tension migraines. Like I could just be like so happy and something like just I moved the wrong way and start getting severe migraines. I've went to see a lot of doctors in my life, and one thing's only worked, man. I'm serious with that. And so I know that I'm not the only person that like goes through that.
Yeah,
and it really has helped. I mean, I know that we're starting off a college football show talking about THC, but I mean,
yes,
you experiment in college, baby. Joe,
or when you're 6 years old, like Mad Dog.
Have you ever passed the Magic Dragon?
I live in California. I can drive down the street and I can
actually
I've got gummies in my there's no stigma for me. It's easy to procure in California. It's almost too easy to procure. I would argue that the commercialized versions, I'm actually kind of not a fan of it because they don't regulate the production of it. So you'll buy one brand, you don't feel it, and then you buy another brand and you're like, oh my God, I have to take a break for a month because this thing was too strong. There's the content percentage is never accurate.
There's this friend of mine, there's an Italian saying, a mafia saying, a friend of mine, he got some from overseas.
Oh no.
And it said it was like 25 milligrams. And
25 is a lot. For 25 is still a lot.
He took half of it, and he was sent to the Shadow Realm. Like, finish him Mortal Kombat Shadow Realm.
That is, sometimes those experiences can be really fun, and it's just chill. You're having a good time.
Not when you have two kids and a mortgage.
Well, yeah, you can't be doing that. But I will say that when you have a bad experience and you go to the Shadow Realm, that shit is not fun. That will ruin it for you.
Listen, one story. Okay. And I do think 25 is a little weak, just depending on your tolerance. Yeah. Quick story. I took for my wedding. Anyway, before the wedding, I wrote like these things down that I wanted to tell my wife, and luckily I didn't give them to her. Because I thought I was like solving the world's problems, and it was nothing but blibber blabber. Okay, like it was
Oh my
Mumbo
God.
jumbo. Anyway,
Do you have a
all right.
copy of that? Do you could share those with
No, I don't. All right, what? You're right. What kind of content is this? All right, we got a lot to talk about. A lot of big time matchups this weekend, Joe. Ole Miss and Bama, Oregon and Colorado, Florida State, Clemson, Wazoo, and Oregon State. We break those all down here tonight. I got to make up some ground in our pick'ems. I'm
Well, you
not
did last week. You made up a little ground.
Yeah, made up a little ground. Blake is back.
Okay, you went 2-3. Don't act
Blake
like
is
Blake
back.
is back.
Blake is back. I am not going with my head. I'm going with what I know. I was too corporate. I was way too corporate. Okay.
I appreciate you trying to move the goalposts by, you guys are like, oh, let's do 8 games this week. Let's pick 8 games. And I kind of
are you not wanting to pick ranked on ranked opponents?
No, I agree that we should do 8.
Next week we might have 2.
No, next week's another good slate of games.
Okay, well, we'll have another 8 for you. It's an 8
maybe we should do 10.
Okay, doesn't bother me. I'm just going to catch up and beat you. All right, so we got a lot to discuss. We'll do our pick'ems here after we break down all these games. Joe, let's not really waste any time on this. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag. Before we do that, though, everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share all those social media groups, share to all those social media pages. You're listening to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. You're watching us on Fubo TV. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So much we need to touch on. We talked too much about smoking weed. Look what Joe did. He knew that topic was going to get me riled up. We got a lot of football to discuss. You know what, Joe? We get to do that next. Joe's going to lead us off. Alabama, Ole Miss. Who are we picking? What do we think? We talk about it right around the corner. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. We're back! Hey, shout out to my good friend Kevin Fontenot. We call him Big Mamu. He just won the charity giveaway. Brian Kelly was wearing the Air Force Ones. I sent you the video.
Oh.
Big Mamu with the fresh, newly minted and worn by a future LSU head coach, national champion, Brian Kelly.
Are they his size? Are they going to even fit him? Or is
Hell
that
no,
going
Mamu's like 6'4".
Brian Kelly's got probably like a size 8. What do we think? Size 7?
I don't know. I don't look at the man's feet.
I'm just guessing based on height. He doesn't seem like a very large man.
I will tell you this. There's only been two coaches that I've covered in my life that when they walk in the room, it is like, oh, crap. Mm-hmm. Nick Saban and Brian Kelly have been the 2 coaches that I've experienced.
And they're the smallest ones.
And that's true. That's something that's true. But both of them are just so like,
yes,
on another tier. Now, I'm sure there'd be others like Dion and Urban and Dabo, and I'm sure there's others, but, just those are the only 2 that I've covered. All right, Joe. So, listen, let me kick it over to you. Speaking of Nick, massive game this week. Now, I do feel like Daddy is back, meaning me. I'm coming for these pick'ems, okay? A lot of what we've been saying has been coming to fruition. I don't know if Saban's going to walk out of the month of September without 2 losses. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm starting to really believe that. I think that this game is going to be adding to the snowball. It is terrible timing for them to trying to be figuring things out, figuring out their quarterback situation, for them to face off with a quality Ole Miss team. I don't know if Ole Miss is as scary of an opponent as some believe that they are, but I can tell you right now that they have their crap together a lot better than Alabama. One big reason why I am wary about what happens for Alabama, separate from all of the crap going on with the quarterback position. Did you know that they're 123rd in the country in sacks allowed? They've given up 12 sacks. And in that time, they've played Middle Tennessee State and South Florida. Some of that blame could go on the quarterback position for holding the ball too long. But right now, that offensive line that was supposed to be so good is struggling to protect quarterbacks, and they don't have guys who can deliver the ball. The way that I see this is that even if Ole Miss isn't at full efficiency, maybe that they have some struggles in this game, I don't see a path for Alabama to come out victorious. I just don't. They've had too many problems offensively for them to find a way to beat Ole Miss.
So I agree. And look, here's the thing, though, for me, Joe. Let me not go completely and hammer them because of this reason. Alabama's, like, the players that they do have, they're not scrubs. They're just not playing to their potential, right? Yeah. Like the left tackle, what's his name? The kid from Iowa, Proctor.
Caden Proctor, yeah.
What if the light turns on for him? You know,
and there's recoverability for him.
And Latham. If the light starts turning up for those guys up front, it can start turning a tide for Alabama, pun intended. Now, here's the thing. It's time for Tommy Rees to put up or shut up.
Yeah.
Like, it is time for you to put up or shut up. I don't want to see the game plan that I saw against Texas. Now, I'm going to give Tommy Rees a little wiggle room here. And I'm just going to be real with you. If you think that Tommy Rees isn't running a Nick Saban game plan, then you're an idiot. Okay? Like, Nick does not allow I let my coaches coach. No, you don't. You let Lane do it. You let Bill O'Brien do it for a little bit. And then when things got tight, you started not calling the plays, but telling him what he needed to do. Bottom line is, they got to come up with a good enough game plan for Jalen Milroe to run that rock. Joe, if I'm Alabama and if I'm an Alabama fan, you're about to call me insane. You're about to call me stupid. I don't want to walk out of Bryant-Denny Stadium and Jalen Milroe not have 20 rushes. Don't let it happen, because you got to start getting some confidence with this O-line and himself. Now, maybe 20 is the outright max, and I get that. And God forbid if he got hurt in this game, they're in real doo-doo.
Yes.
You don't have a choice. He's got to be Superman. He's got to get in that phone booth, Clark Kent, and put on the Superman cape like Cam Newton did in that same state so many years ago. Give him 20 rushes and say F it, because you got to get this thing rolling. Number two, with all that being said, and them having the blue chip athletes, Joe, what if I told you too, Nick Saban, his two highest rated recruiting classes are on campus right now. So of all the great recruiting classes that he's ever had, the two best recruiting classes that they are on campus right now. The bottom line becomes, they have dudes. Are they going to play to their potential? I don't know if they can score enough. And that's why I'm going to take Ole Miss in this one. Joe, on the way to church on Sunday, got $100 in my pocket. And I give 80 to the Lord Jesus. And I put 20 on Bet Online and sprinkled that baby on Ole Miss, because the Rebels are coming into T-Town and taking one.
I think you bring up a really good point here with Jalen Milroe. Their offense has been inept. It's been incapable of anything. And as much as we want to, what I found really weird is that there were some Alabama fans I've noticed that are apologizing for Tommy Rees, which is odd. The quarterback play hasn't been stellar, but I would argue that there's still talent at the position, and to not properly set those guys up for success, that goes on the head of the man calling the plays. And I think against Texas, they got too goddamn cute. You have one of the best athletes in the country playing quarterback for you right now. Jalen Milroe is an extremely good athlete for a quarterback. There are not a lot of guys that can move the way that he can playing that position. I completely agree with your point. you got to run the ball 25 times with him, 25 times. And I know that sounds insane. I know that there might be some Alabama fans who get upset by that notion, but you have that ability to run all over an opposing defense. And you're not using
Ole Miss. Look what Tulane did. If Tulane can open up holes, Joe, there's an avenue for them. They got to run that rock, buddy. They got to run the rock.
And if you're struggling this much to protect quarterbacks and your offensive line, their offensive line hasn't been bad against when blocking on rushing plays. It really hasn't been that bad.
USF says hi.
It hasn't been as bad as they are trying to protect on passing plays, is my
Agreed.
point. Do what's working. Stop being stupid about this. But I'm in the same boat, I think, about the whole analysis of this. I really think that Ole Miss has momentum. Lane is finally going to get one off of Saban. I do have a really insane theory that I just want to throw out there for this game. I actually do think that this is worth considering. That Jalen Milroe was deliberately benched ahead of South
he was
Florida.
Suspended.
I know that that's something that was put out there.
It's not speculation.
So he was suspended.
I mean, the chatter coming out of there, yeah, I mean, it's pretty undeniable.
My theory was that Jalen Milroe was deliberately benched, and they knew that they could still win with the other two guys in at quarterback and figure out who's the better backup so that they could mess with Lane Kiffin, so that they could get in to prepare for all three of them.
No, you had me until the very end. Okay. You know, you just Game of Thrones me. That's what you did. You Game of Thrones me. You know, the old the theory of you kept me all the way to the very end and then you just laid a dud. I agree with everything you just said. And then to your point, Lane comes out and says, hey, I know who's really calling the plays. Now, listen.
Right. That's part of why I'm saying
Pete Golding doesn't have friends still on that staff that he's not talking to. You're crazy.
Right.
I don't know if Kevin Steele's calling plays. That's another topic for probably another day. But I don't believe that. Let me tell you why. I think Nick was thinking to himself, listen, I do think that Jalen Milroe's the best quarterback that I have, but what if one of these two guys can come out here and really start throwing the football and really start moving it? Let's see what we have and give them a whole game doing it. Let me leak this out here. Let me leak this out here to say that Jalen Milroe is suspended, and that way nobody questions it in the end. Lane doesn't need – Lane's got Pete Golding on the staff. If there's anyone that knows about Jalen Milroe's talents, Jalen Milroe was running scout team a year ago, right before the A&M game. So, no, I was with you until the end.
I did say it was half-baked. I did say it was a bit of a crazy theory.
I mean, you're already half-baked Mad Dog Jersey edition.
All right.
Hey, do you know Mike the Situation?
I don't know every Italian guy from New Jersey. I don't.
Oh, well.
That's South Jersey. That's not really New Jersey. That's Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. I got you. Well, yeah, I can see that. Uh-huh. I think Ole Miss can come out with this game. Let me throw another theory at you. What happens if Saban's 2-2 in September? What is college football going to do if they lose? Because we know what's going to happen, Joe, if they win. If they win, we never should have questioned Saban. They were working things out, yada, 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 yada. You know that's coming.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I'm not going to lie. I will have a small inkling of feeling like, okay, maybe he's figured this out. But, man, if Lane can come away and Ole Miss can come away with this win, there's going to be so much firing at Saban that it's going to be astronomical. It's going to turn the sport upside down. Joe, the sport's kind of already turned upside down because everybody thinks that there's parity. Like, let me give you this theory or this thought. Everybody thinks that there's parity right now in college football. Okay, well, the only reason you're really saying that is because Saban doesn't look that good.
Yes.
Right? Because here's the truth. There's probably 200 teams in America right now that if they lined up against Georgia on a neutral field, they're going to get their asses kicked. Okay?
Yes.
Well, yes. They look bad at a half. against South Carolina. Okay. The Death Star left Tuscaloosa and went to Athens. All right. So just understand, you can play with Kirby if you want to. Kirby gonna kick that ass.
I get what you're saying, though. I think that this is part of why I'm in on putting my chips on the table for Ole Miss, and I really think that this isn't a circumstance of Ole Miss being heads above Alabama, or even maybe the matchup isn't significantly in their favor. They're also going on the road, like as we've talked about on this show, going on the road. Bryant-Denny, it's a really hard place to win when Nick Saban has been the head coach, or just in general in the history of college football. But at the same time, I just think that this is an opportunity based on Alabama struggling and not having too many holes in the boat for them to plug. If they lose this game, yes, we can finally have a real adult conversation on the fact that Nick Saban needs to retire in the next couple of years. And you know what? Get pissed at me, not you specifically, but people in general. I really would not be shocked, especially, and we're starting to see it more and more. Deion Sanders has a really good relationship with Nick Saban.
Listen to me.
Don't be surprised if in 2 years Nick Saban doesn't retire and Deion.
It won't happen. You don't understand the politics in this, like in the South.
I don't know, man. That feels like it has it written all over it.
Joe, it ain't gonna happen. I'm just gonna tell you. You don't think that
Saban wouldn't pick his
he's gonna pick him, and it ain't gonna be Deion.
I also keep seeing. I heard somebody throw out Lane Kiffin would be his replacement. I don't think that's gonna happen.
It would be Lane Kiffin before it would be Deion. It wouldn't work. It would not work.
All right.
They're dumb. Let me just say it like this. Okay. There are dumb, uneducated fools who won't allow that to happen.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point. But if we're trying to pick a perfect marriage, and if we're trying to like total remove all factors,
Tommy says, what about Sark? In the chat.
That's kind of depressing if Sark ends up being your I don't know, man. I don't know. I wouldn't want
if Sark's got Texas rolling and they're in the SEC, there's no reason for him to leave the state of Texas.
Alabama can pick whoever they want is the point. I just don't know why.
I don't know if they can. Let me tell you why I don't know.
You don't think that they couldn't just grab any coach in the country that's won a national championship?
I think that coaches are paranoid as hell, and nobody would want to follow Saban that's worth a damn. The only dude that's got the big enough balls, and he does, the only human being that's got big enough balls that is a part of his coaching tree is Billy Napier. I promise you. Billy would leave Florida in a heartbeat for Alabama.
Billy's not ready for the job, so
he's not, but I'm just telling you. So would Lane. Lane would do the same damn thing. But I promise you this. Listen, Joe, you know more than these people of the connections and coaches that I know that I either played with or against, that I talk to on a very religious basis. They even call you out sometimes because they listen to the show. It's funny when I send you a screenshot that a coach in college football.
Yeah.
All right. Anywho. Coaches are paranoid. They would not want to follow him after him, meaning as a head coach. But coaches are also psychopaths. So we'll see. Bottom line to this game before we move on, because we got a lot we need to cover.
Yes.
I'm going to take Ole Miss until I can see Alabama better offensively. If they did not have that A on their chest, we would all say the same thing. But the only reason you do question it is because of Nick. That's the only reason.
Absolutely. If this game was at Ole Miss, I think
if it were Ole Miss and LSU, if you were seeing this about LSU or Tennessee, you've done it with Tennessee.
Yeah.
You know Josh Heupel's a really good coach. The only reason you give him a chance in something like this is because of the little man.
Absolutely. And again, the location of it too. If somebody's going to get his team ready and bounce back, it's Nick Saban. And if someone concocts a plan, it's Nick Saban.
Can we, instead of Oregon, Colorado, can we go Florida State and Clemson next?
Yes, let's do that.
All right. So Florida State and Clemson kick it off at 11 a.m. Congratulations to Florida State, by the way.
What do you mean?
You don't want a night game and you don't want a night game in the ranked opponent's house.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you had to play him, you want to play him at 11 a.m.
Yeah, I know, absolutely, and that's actually usually a pretty difficult setting to play in at night. No, they got a total layup.
It's loud out there and at Howard's Rock, man.
Yeah, hell yeah.
In reference to this game, everybody and their mama is putting down on Florida State after a 2-point loss or 2-point win over Boston College. Can people not read, Joe? Do people not know that they got in late and that there's a lot of things going on, and Jordan Travis got hurt early in that game. It came back and toughed it out. This can be, Joe, a monumental day for Florida State. LSU beating LSU twice does not do that. As much as I love LSU, it doesn't do that. The monumental thing is to say that we've arrived is beating Clemson and taking over the SEC or ACC. I'm going to go the same thing with Alabama. Joe, I don't know how Clemson scores enough. I don't. Because if you think Duke was ruthless defensively, what is Florida State about to give them?
So here's where I'm looking at this game. I actually think that this could play out to be a little bit closer than we anticipate. Look, as much as we want to clown on and as much as I have been critical of Dabo Swinney so far this year, I will give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. You know, it's a new offensive system. Things aren't going to immediately hit the ground running. Let's give Cade Klubnik a little bit of time. Let's figure out who the receivers are. It hurts that in week 4 is the first time that you're really getting tested again to figure things out. But the way that I look at this game and part of why I think it could be a little bit closer, Clemson actually has a very good secondary, a very, very good secondary.
And Joe, they got a really look. Their front 7 is nothing to sneeze over either.
Yes.
I mean, Clemson's has been pretty good in the front 7.
Tyler Davis, Ruka Roro are very dominant defensive linemen. They don't have the same edges that they've had in the past, but Makuba and all those other guys in their secondary, if we remember that Duke game, it wasn't necessarily them getting beat by Riley Leonard on like
the Riley kid running all over him.
It was him scrambling. Now that is a fold that they're going to have to prepare for with Jordan Travis. But I don't know if it's going to be as easy to move the ball down the field throwing it as some might anticipate. However, I'm with you. I think that Florida State wins this game. I think Florida State, with the shitty traveling circumstances last week, take Rack off. Please, I deal with him too much. I deal with him every time.
Do you know who that is?
Some guy from Idaho. I love him because he's the most consistent viewer I have on every piece of content that I do. And I love people who do that. But that disrupted my train of thought because all I saw
did
Pamela Anderson.
Did the comment do it or did the tits do it?
You know what did it. You know what the answer to that is.
Pamela Anderson's boobs. Okay.
Yeah. Wait, is it Carmen Electra or is it Pam? By the way, random side tangent. He has been tagging and emailing Carmen Electra on he's been tagging Carmen Electra on Twitter and then emailing her manager in an attempt to get her to come on my show with Sean. It's not been successful, but he's currently actively trying to do that. I don't know why.
Hey, man. What if it happens? Are you a big Carmen Electra fan?
No, he is. He is, and he wants us to interview her. It has nothing to do with us.
It should tell you about how old he is.
He's 30. He's told us he's in his 30s.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
All right.
I was going to say he was about my age, yeah.
Look, to talk about this game and to refocus back on this game, I think that Florida State needs another notch in the belt to say, you know, you guys are doubting us last week. You guys were all up on us after week 1. You were doubting us last week. We're going to remind you how freaking good we are. I think that team is just front to back so good, and I am not going to stop picking them to win games. I also think if they lose one, it's going to be to somebody stupid. It's not going to be to Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said that about. Now, I didn't say that the game was going to be a runaway. I just don't know from what we've seen from Clemson so far. Now, listen, they responded from that Duke loss and started taking it out on people offensively. Cade Klubnik was in his second start against Duke, you know, and I do, whether it happens in week 1 or whether it happens in week 6, sometimes you lose to teams you're not supposed to. Joe, do you know that we haven't had that many undefeated champions? We just so happen to have them recently. 2020, 2019, 2021, 2022. You go and look at more recent history. That did not happen.
No.
You had teams losing early in the year and then going on a run. I'll never forget that Auburn loss to LSU and then them going in with Nick Marshall and playing for a national title. Jameis and them. I mean, there are just teams that it happens to. But I cannot. The only I agree with you with it being close. I actually think it's going to be a field goal game. I think it could be that close. A field goal, one possession, maybe a 7-point game, because I do think Riley's going to be cooking. I do think that Boston College exposed some things in reference to moving the pocket and running the football on them. I would not be surprised, Joe, if Clemson stayed up here and was in the fight with them. And look, a lot like Alabama, when you don't want to give up the heavyweight title, Clemson still runs the ACC. Okay,
Yes.
like to take the title, you got to go and take it from the heavyweight champ, right? A 2-time national champion winner in the last 10 years. You got to take that moniker from them. This is Mike Norvell's biggest game, not of just his Florida State tenure, of his life. Do they get cooking? I think that this is going to be a great game. It's 11 a.m. kickoff. I'm really excited about that one. I'm going to lean Florida State because they're more tested, meaning I know about the Duke
and more
ball.
talented too. They just front to back are more well-rounded roster.
Yeah, they are. They are. But why do I, Joe? Let me ask you this: why do I feel like it's just a matter of moments before Dabo gets shit clicking again?
Because, I mean, he's done it.
Because he's won 2 national titles?
Yes, but the thing is, he's never struggled this much. You know, like he's never had to.
Funny, two people who were most outspoken about the portal, Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney, and they're having issues. Isn't that fun?
Dabo's at least been, or not Dabo, Nick's been at least willing to go into the portal and dive
because he
into
doesn't want to
NIL.
lose.
Yeah, but Dabo's not.
You know what else about not really Clemson, but more so Alabama? The last 2 years, their best offensive players are not from high school recruiting. Gibbs and Williamson are both from the portal. I mean, you can make the argument that the kid from Georgia, what's his name, Burton, is their best offensive player right now. So another transfer. Anyway,
final thought on Norvell, though. You made a really good point here. Norvell hasn't gotten over the hump yet. You know, he got that LSU win. That was significant. He has, in his time, not really put together many of these big, defining, important ACC wins. Last year, they had more momentum than Clemson did, and they lost. That was a game that they should have won, and they could have won, but some coaching deficiencies held them back. This game is so freaking important, which is why I believe it is, you know, they're going to be more than prepared to go full speed in all 4 quarters. Again, I agree with you. I think it's going to be close. I think a little bit more than a field goal, let's say a touchdown, somewhere in that range. But Florida State needs this. This is so important for them, and they're ready to do it this season.
All right, Colorado and Oregon teed up this week. Man, I think it's going to be closer than the experts think, man. I still think Oregon wins. I don't know about the 21 points, though. Like, if I'm staying away from that one out west between Oregon and Colorado. I want nothing to do with it because I know that Travis Hunter is out. I know that the O-line for Colorado has also of late not looked good when depth has needed to start emerging. But, man, when you have a good quarterback and a good offensive play caller and a head coach that's electric, Joe, I'm not ready to say that Oregon is going to beat them down. Now, if they would have beaten Texas Tech more convincingly, I would have been like, yeah, okay, all right, sounds good. But Colorado's already been tested on the road early in the year. If you think going into TCU is not a big deal and getting that win, it was a massive deal. Mm-hmm. Even last week, you're the talk of all of football, and you go into it, and you know what? You don't blow it. Your quarterback comes back. Shedeur Sanders leads you back into the game. Double overtime, you get the win. I don't care if it's against a Rudy Poo-ass State Colorado State. Rudy Putek could have been in town, and I would have said, you know what? They found a way to win. I still am picking Bo Nix in this Oregon team. They're too good on the defensive line, too good on the offensive line. Bo Nix is too experienced. Give me the Ducks by 10.
Right, that 21-point spread, that's
It's
insane.
ridiculous.
That's insane to assume that it's going to be that lopsided, because you know what? Their offensive and defensive line, it's not great. I've talked about how there's a lack of talent and there's a lack of size at those position groups because, frankly, with all the transfer portal moves that they made, they went and got a lot of skill position players that have been amazing. But one of the hardest positions to find good players at is offensive and defensive line. There's just not that many human beings of that size that can move at an elite level. And there's an even smaller amount that enter the portal every single year. A lot of the top guys that did enter the portal ended up at Oregon, specifically a guy from my school, a Johnny Cornelius, who's now a part of that Oregon offensive line. I think that Colorado eventually is going to get the bodies that they need, but right now it's just not where it's at. I can't count out Colorado to not keep this thing within 10 points like you're saying, because Shedeur Sanders has been so amazing. He is a first-round caliber guy. He is a guy that delivers the ball consistently and accurately, and he's always going to find who he needs to deliver the ball to. The offensive play calling has been phenomenal. But why I can't, and I love the storyline. Everybody loves the storyline. I wish I could come on here and say, this is how Colorado upsets Oregon. But when I pull up, and I understand it's only been 3 games, but when I pull up some disturbing stats that fill the conversations that we're talking about here, it's hard for me to find a path for them. They're 122nd in total defense. They're one of the worst defenses in total yards allowed, one of the worst rushing defenses, and Oregon runs the ball really well with Bucky Irving. Colorado's also 127th in their own rushing offense. They're not moving the ball very well on the ground. And then the worst one of all, and the one that you might expect, they're 128th in sacks. They've given up 16 sacks, and one of those games, actually 2 of those games, were against pretty weak defensive lines. Colorado State's not that good, and I'm telling you right now, Nebraska's D-line sucks.
When you're throwing the ball 50, 55 times a game, you can expect that, though.
Whoa. I would, if they were at like 60 or 80, I would agree with that.
No, but let me hold on.
They're in the bottom 10.
Yeah, but I understand that. But read who the bottom 10 are. Do you have the bottom 10?
I'll pull it up right now.
Okay, because I'm about to learn you something. Watch this.
Sacks allowed, bottom 10. Oh, no, actually, they're bottom 3. Old Dominion, South Florida, Colorado, South Carolina, Akron, Houston, Hawaii, and they're good friends at Alabama.
Let me give one that everybody will know about. Hold on, just listen.
Okay.
Spencer Rattler has more dropbacks in the SEC than anybody else. So the more attempts that you have, the more that's going to happen. That stat will even out, because here's the truth. I know everybody says,
okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
I know everybody says Colorado State is ass. However, they are the only team in 2 weeks to play borderline Power 5 opponents. I mean, they played a Big Ten opponent in Nebraska. They play a Big 12 opponent in TCU. Name another team that had back-to-back games like that in the country. Oh, and by the way, Shedeur Sanders has more dropbacks. He's almost doubling and tripling some dudes in dropbacks.
Okay.
So
I understand that, but this is why, I don't like to just throw out stats. I also love to look at the film, and I watched the Colorado-Nebraska game.
I don't disagree with you, but it's not like he's getting under pressure like all game long. He's had some pockets to work with.
That clarification is important, but what I'm getting at here is that when you actually watch the game film, you got a lot of guys that are getting beat on first moves. The pocket collapses, and he gets the ball out so quick, it hasn't been – that number could be a lot higher. If this was a 5-step drop type offense where he was asked to really drop back and read the field, and he wasn't getting the ball out so quick and he wasn't so decisive, that number could be a lot worse. But one thing that I have to bring up here and why I'm a little worried, Jordan Birch in that defensive line is really strong, and Dan Lanning is a really strong defensive-minded coach. For them to go up against this offensive line, they could have themselves a field day. Shedeur Sanders has been getting the ball out super quick. He's got to find a way to get it out quicker, which I don't even know if that's possible.
We'll see. I do like though, that I do like that Oregon D-line, man. I do like Dan Lanning a lot. That's another guy who Bama could go after, Dan Lanning, if things did meticulous.
Yeah.
I think he's got some things up his sleeve, old Dan. I don't think they covered the 21, but I think Dan's about to go out here and make a statement defensively. He's about to put that Sanders kid in a blender.
Yeah, they need to do a good job of protecting him. And you know what? They need to run the ball. They need to try to run the ball better.
They're not going to with his son. Watch. I could tweet Dion at Dion right now and say run counter read. By the way, I went and watched Texas Tech game today against Oregon. Uh-huh. They do have a very bad big problem on misdirection runs. Very bad.
Yeah. They have been getting killed by space players.
They are not going to run the football. Okay, at least they've shown that they don't really want to. But Joe, if you can take some pressure off of that offensive line and getting them out in space and out in the open to just seal a guy, if they do get to that, Oregon's going to be in trouble. Texas Tech whipped that ass in between the tackles in that 3 and 4 hole. That are what people know as the double A gaps. They were whipping that ass, and quarterback was running all over them. Man, that Joe, if you told me, listen to this. If you told me Colorado won, it's because they did something in a misdirection that has put Oregon in a blender so far this year against everybody.
I think you bring up a really good point there. I think that for Colorado to win this game, their path to winning it, as I was saying, it's kind of hard to really figure out. But it's one, keep your athletes in space, get the ball out as quick as you possibly can, and be aggressive. I know that, this might upset some Colorado fans, some of the newbie college football fans that have been following and tracking it and watching some of our videos. As a team that has this momentum this early on in the season, that has won all of these 2 really close games, you got to be aggressive. You have nothing to lose against Oregon. You have nothing to lose. Be aggressive. Take shots. Take shots down the field. See what happens. If you can, this always happens with big teams like Oregon. Oregon is highly touted this year. They were highly touted coming into the season. Bo Nix was a Heisman candidate. Try and punch him in the mouth early. Any big team like this, when they get knocked on their butt early, sometimes they can't recover. That's literally what Colorado State did to you the week prior. They came out swinging and they were aggressive. They took shots. They tried to, you talk about misdirection, trick plays. Do whatever you can to put the opponent that's supposed to beat up on you on their ass and then ride that momentum. That's what they need to do.
We'll see. It's going to be an interesting game. I'm not picking against Colorado plus 21. Just not.
No, don't touch that. That's horrible.
All right, because we do got to get to our picks. You want to just do the Wazoo and Oregon State one inside our picks?
I mean, we got time. You want to just hit it for 5 minutes?
Yeah,
go ahead. Pretty concise thought. The Pac-2 championship is going to be determined here in this game. It's a terrible joke. Look, I think that this is a really fun game to pay attention to because both of these teams are uncovered because of all of the attention that Washington, Colorado, Oregon, and Utah have gotten. But both of these teams are really freaking good. They've got good offensive lines. They've got good defensive lines. And better yet, they both have quality quarterbacks. I lean Washington State in this one, Blake, because Cam Ward is so freaking good. He can take over a game if he's fully availably healthy, according to, what you were saying to me before the show. But what does scare me a little bit is that Oregon's defense has been one of the best in the country. They have been getting after opposing quarterbacks and shutting down opposing run games. That this could be a long day for Washington if they don't pick up some big splash plays early.
All right. So I told you this before the show. Oregon State's one of my lock of the weeks. I think they're going to win. That. Well, can I tell you something on a quarterback you hate?
Yeah.
DJU's not that bad, and he's not getting the publicity because he's at Oregon State. But everybody's bad takes about old DJU would be completely changed if he played at Colorado. Maybe it wasn't DJ. Maybe it just was. Oh, Dabo.
Probably was.
Oh, do you need to go on an apology tour to DJ?
No. And I'm not saying anything negative right now about DJ. I haven't said anything negative about
but
it.
I remember a day and a time.
What did I say?
You said DJ was ass cheeks.
Okay. Look, the old DJ was ass cheeks in that Clemson offense. But
born again Christian, he was baptized and rose from the water.
But call it so shocking he's in an offense that is spreading the ball around, running really well where he doesn't have all the pressure on him. But like we have to talk about this. Oregon State has one of the best offensive lines in the country, and it hasn't been discussed.
They're running the ball so well. So well. And you know what, man? DJ looks like he's having fun.
Yeah.
Do-rag and all. My man wears a do-rag. Why? I mean, you don't have to protect the waves that much, man.
Does he have waves? I don't know
what he looks like underneath that cap. By the way, I do have a buddy of mine that is the lead scout for the LA Dodgers. Did you know that they drafted DJU with the final overall pick?
Yes, which is really random, and it's kind of like the Johnny Manziel pick.
You know what he told me?
What?
This scout, that he arguably is the best athlete in college athletics right now.
Okay, I don't know about that.
Joe, you have a guy who drafted silly me. Guys like Clayton Kershaw.
Okay, wait. On what grounds is he the best overall athlete in?
You have a guy that has won Scout of the Year 17 times.
Forget that. I just don't understand where this is coming from. He's had a couple of good games, and we're sudden. Maybe he's been telling DJ this.
In fairness, they drafted him before the football season started.
They're probably trying to get him to. They're probably telling him these things because they want him to play baseball.
Who knows? All right. Let's get to I don't agree with you. Oregon State. Give me DJU and the boys.
All right.
Are you Dirty Mike in the gang? Yeah, what? we had hobo sex in your car. Our picks for this week. We have 8 of them. I am currently 9-11, and Joe is currently 11-9. I got some ground to make up here, Joseph. Let's start with the first 4 here. Notre Dame and Ohio State. Is your Fighting Irish gonna pull it out?
Damn right, Blake, we're pulling this out. Damn right that Notre Dame is getting this win at home against Ohio State. I'm putting my nuts on the table. Give me the Fighting Irish.
You mean your little acorns?
I'll take my nuts out right now, and I will put them on the table, and I will get us.
I'll give you $100 if you do it right now.
I'm not kidding. I'm not ruining our show. I'm not going to do that. We've made all this progress. I'm not ruining our show.
Okay. I've told you my piece. I've gotten blistered on it on Twitter. I want to see if you're athletic enough on the outside. Can you get separation on the outside? Oh, this guy wearing 21 miles an hour. Okay. Sounds good. LSU had 4 guys in their defensive back room that ran 24 miles an hour. How'd that work out week 1? And I'm going to go Ohio State, and I'm going to take them to cover the 2.5. Ole Miss and Alabama, we both have the Rebels winning there. We talked about that. LSU and Arkansas. Joseph, you're going with the boys from the Bayou.
Yeah. First of all, shout out to KJ Jefferson. I know that he tried to what's the word?
He called that Snapchat a lie.
He tried to debunk it. I kind of was in on him because it was funny, and I thought that it was a well-crafted message. I'm just kidding, obviously. I mean, it's a million times less awkward than the Carson Beck one.
I just want to suck on them titties. That's what he said.
Look,
both 2 quarterbacks in the SEC, big boob guys. By the way, did you see Will Levis broke up with that dime piece of a girlfriend?
Yeah. I mean, the Nashville. I don't know. Maybe the Nashville girls are just
that girl.
I'd be willing to bet it's probably some jealousy stuff. I'm sure she's probably giving him a hard time or something. That might have been the case.
Well, honey,
No
I'm just gonna
speculating.
tell you, there's a lot of people that have money that would love, to call you their wife.
Look, Arkansas lost to a team that didn't even know where Arkansas was on a map. You're telling me that they're going to show up against LSU, who looked amazing against Mississippi State?
Game's
Yeah, I'm going
always
to pick LSU.
close. Game's always close. Let me tell you something. I am not. I would tell everybody here: do not bet that game. Do not take the points.
No, yeah, I wouldn't. What's the line even?
18. About to move up to 18 and a half.
That is a bad bet. I wouldn't touch that.
Yeah, I'm not touching that. I'm not
I
touching
can see an Arkansas backdoor cover. All right, what's the
next one? Oh, my bad. UCLA, Utah. Dante Moore is actually a dude, and he's playing. Give me the Bruins, and you're going the Cam Rising lists, Utah Utes.
Look, I am a big Dante Moore fan, and I think that he is going to help this UCLA team finish the season ranked, but not so fast. I think that Utah's defense and Kyle Whittingham are going to show up and just pick him apart. Nate Johnson is the guy, and he is starting to look really good. He is a weapon offensively. But I think that a true freshman quarterback going up against that type of a defense, sitting egg time.
I think Utah's Fugazi.
Dude, they've made it this far without a quarterback. I think that they've got something.
Yeah. Okay, you beat Florida and Baylor, two teams that probably at the end of the day are ass cheeks.
Okay, but they're doing it with Bryce. They haven't been. I mean, we look at two different teams, and we've talked about two different teams with quarterback problems. They have overcome quarterback problems against decent Power 5 opponents. Alabama lost to their one Power 5 opponent.
Game. Dante Moore breakout game. It's coming. Chip Kelly knows what he's doing.
All right, we'll see.
All right, we talked about Oregon and Colorado. Joe and I both are taking the Ducks. Quack, quack in that hoe. A&M and Auburn. Joe, you know what? My buddy Bill King, he was on Sirius XM. He's one of the voices of college football. He asked me about this game today in A&M and Auburn. I'm taking A&M big. I don't think Oregon can score. I think they have an offensive problem.
Who did I pick?
You picked A&M.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. I was debating if I wanted to switch back to Auburn. I think
Payton Thorne threw 2 picks last week against Rudy Poo Tech.
That offense, I mean, look, I look at the way that they played against Cal. They barely beat Cal, and Cal almost lost to Idaho. And sorry, Rack, Idaho is a really good FCS team, but you by the power of trying to line these games across one another, I'm really wary that offense isn't going to be able to keep up. And you know what? Jimbo needs wins against blue blood programs. You know, if you're not going to finish the season with ranked wins, you got to at least beat the big names. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Jimbo gets that win.
And look, man, we've written them off. We don't know how good Miami is, right? Like we just don't know yet. I mean, Joe, they could win the ACC. They could win the ACC.
Yeah. There's a path for it. You know, they beat Florida State at the end of the year.
To win the ACC. So yeah. The thing that Jimbo's not getting enough credit for, and I think that he does deserve it, is, man, he has not meddled in that offense.
No.
He hasn't. He has let his coaches coach, and I do think that he's done a good job there. He's adapted, man. Like, you got to give a guy credit. We called him out all offseason, Joe, and he has done what people have called him to do. He's given it up. They look great offensively. Joe, that D-line was not the problem. I continue to hear the D-line was a problem against Miami. They allowed 77 rushing yards. They had like 21 pressures against Van Dyke.
Right. It was kind of one of those situations.
The secondary played bad. Wait for it. Do you smell what the Rock is cooking? Ass.
Yeah, they have not done a very good job. So depending on, maybe this is a Payton Thorne emergence game, and maybe we're going to get bit in the ass by Jimbo because we're talking down on a quarterback who's facing him. But
we'll see. And then our last one was Oregon State and Wazoo. You're going with the Wazoos.
Look, if Cam Ward is fine, I'm picking Wazoo, man. I'm picking the fighting Cam Ward.
So biased.
I love him, man. I love watching him. And I also, Brennan Jackson and that defensive line is swarming. They got after Tanner Mordecai. And I think if there's a bad game for that Oregon State offensive line, it's going to be this week.
Oh, they rushed the passer in the offense and offensive linemen that are transitioning and not running the ball under center all. What are you talking about?
I watched the film. They looked really good. I had to scout that game. That game, they looked really good. That defensive line.
Oregon State, DJU. I'm a B believer. B believer.
B believer.
B believer. I am taking the Beavs in this one, man. I think that you hate DJU so much. You
No.
You talked about putting your nuts on the table. DJ is going to put his nuts in your face this weekend.
This has nothing to do with DJU. This has everything to do with Cam Ward, our Lord and Savior.
Okay. If
We'll
you
see.
say so. By the way, he lost to Southeastern when he was in that corner word. Just throwing that out. And then, you know what's so wild about that? I told you in your rankings that you needed to put Southeastern above some of those other teams. And you know what you told me, Joe? They won't even get past Idaho.
Do you know who, by the way, do you know?
Hold on. Do you remember that? And I said,
Yeah.
And I said the Lions from Southeastern are coming down and putting their lion nuts all in your jungle face.
You know they got dunked on by Eastern Washington last week? Southeastern?
Well, 17 guys had the flu.
Did they actually at
Yeah.
Southeastern? I hate that you know that. I didn't even know that. You're making that up.
Okay.
Go Eastern Washington.
Well, sure. By the way, Eastern Washington has an all-red field. Y'all are ass cheeks for doing that.
It's ugly, but it's also kind of cool. It's the Fighting Colin Cowherds. That's where Colin Cowherd went to school.
No wonder they're ass. I love you, Colin. All right. We'll see you guys again Sunday. Maybe we can make a guest appearance, like sit on here during the – I don't know. We'll figure something out. I got an idea. All right. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.